So this is OnePlus's 7T. It's a great phone. Now the T versions, I think you shouldn't get the main release. You should just wait for the T versions now if you've got some patience, because they really are the refined, better models. So this now has the Snapdragon 855 Plus, different camera setup on the rear, and the 90 Hz refresh rate that the 7 Pro originally came with. It really is a great phone, and I'm hard put to find faults with the 7T. It really is that good. So this unit here is a loan unit from Trading Shenzhen. They've lent it to me just to do the review, and then I have to send it on back to them. So this is the Chinese version originally, but what they've done is they've flashed over from Hydrogen OS to Oxygen OS. So you get a SIM tray tool, you get the 30-watt warp charger, which in my testing takes about 1 hour and 2 minutes to fully charge the phone. That is from completely flat, a red Type-C cable, and you do get this case right here, which does fit the phone really well, as you'd expect from the manufacturer. There's a gap there for the switch, of course, for the alert slider switch, and it does cover the buttons there. Very nice case, really good quality. So let's first focus on the build of this phone, that it is very good. You can see we've got slim bezels on the side. The chin at the bottom is not bad at all with this display. The camera up the top and the teardrop notch, that's 16 megapixels with an f2.0 aperture. Now this is Gorilla Glass 5 with 2.5D edges, and Gorilla Glass 5 on the rear. Now I do like what they've done with the finish here. This is a frosted glass finish. It has a matte coating to it, so it doesn't pick up fingerprints as bad as some other phones. And at certain angles you can see that we've got this effect that it goes from a light blue to then darker at the top with that gradient, and it almost looks purple in certain light. Now the camera here, this is quite susceptible, I think, to cracking, having so much glass there on the rear. And I do believe that when you place it down on tables, for example, that you probably end up going to get scratches on this. There's a metal band that goes all around the outside. So the camera does stick out by 2 millimeters. You see side on how that sticks out. The thickness of this phone is 8.4 millimeters, and with that camera that brings it to 10.4. Metal frame all around the outside. You can see 2 antenna lines here on the left. That's our volume up and down. Down the bottom we've got 2 nano SIMs that you can install there. And no micro SD card support with this SIM tray, unfortunately. Now this Type-C does support video out, which is absolutely great to see. Loudspeaker 1 of 2, the earpiece also does double as a loudspeaker, and there will be a sample later on in this review. So we still have the alert slider, that's great, so you can easily just flip this into vibrate only or completely silence, or your normal default sound profile there, and easy access to that power button. Now I'll just demonstrate the face unlocking, that it does work very quick, you can see. And the fingerprint reader, so you need to tap the screen first to wake it, and it's about a second or so to unlock. And lastly, up the top we've got 2 antenna lines and just a secondary microphone, so there's no IR transmitter with this. So if I put it side to side with the Realme X2 Pro, these are basically from the same company with the same spec here. Build quality, you notice that at least on their more premium brand OnePlus now, that the 7T in hand does feel better. I like the finish of this one, and I do think that the way they've also got the frame on this does feel a little bit higher quality. Both of them are made out of an alloy, so it's aluminum or aluminium, wherever you're from, how you pronounce that. But I just think it looks a little bit better. But of course you get a 3.5mm headphone jack with the X2 Pro, something you don't have with OnePlus, that they lost that a long time ago. So onto the screen now. So the 7T is on the top here, the bottom is the X2 Pro. Now I just wanted to compare both of these mobiles because they are similar in terms of screens, both 90 Hz, but there are some differences, as I'll point out, with software with them. So both of them top out at 1000 nits of brightness. With my meter here, I'm getting about 950 nits, and over actually 1000 on the X2 Pro, but that's probably just a difference between the screens there. Now we've got gamma that's about 2.4 on the 7T, which isn't bad, but there's a few interesting things when it comes to the settings, as I'll just quickly show you now that we don't have the typical kind of options that you get on the X2 Pro, which is to me very curious, because often you will see the premium brands getting, of course, more settings, but it's not the case here, that Realme is actually giving us better options on the X2 Pro. So we've got a dark mode that it's currently in. The 7T doesn't seem to have a dark mode. Now you can swap between 90 Hz and 60, and this is a global setting on the 7T. But what I really like about the X2 Pro is you can set it per app. So if you want just, for example, the UI in 90 and the rest in 60, you can do that. Or just configure, sorry, your apps to run at 90. So if you game at 90 Hertz, you prefer that, but you want the UI just in 60, then that is all possible. Brings me on to audio now. So we've got dual loudspeakers. The front-facing loudspeaker, unlike others, does actually have a hint of bass to it and some mids. Most of them will just be mids and trebles, and all the lows will be coming out of the speaker down the bottom right here. So here's a quick sample. This is just a Terminator track I like to play. Absolutely love this movie, but you'll hear just how loud this is, that it's really good. I've got to say that these speakers are a good 8 out of 10. They really are good. Now 3.5mm headphone quality as well. Okay, you need to use an adapter for that. And I found that, yeah, it's okay, but I really wish there was a 3.5mm headphone jack on this. It's really the only thing that bugs me with this phone that's missing. Call quality is excellent and really good, but here's that sample. So before I jump into the ROM performance, I wanted to do this little quick fingerprint unlocking test. I know I showed you it before, but I do believe that my Huawei P30 Pro and the X2 Pro here from Realme is actually faster than this one. Both optical fingerprint readers. So I've got my thumb set up also on the 7T, which is on the left. Let's just do this now. And you can see that's clearly faster, probably because of the animation that's letting the OnePlus 7T down here, but to me, look at that, it's clearly faster on the X2 Pro. Not to mean that it's slow, of course, on the 7T, I just think the team does need to optimize the fingerprint unlocking a little more to possibly make it quicker like its competitors. So ROM performance is excellent. Now multitasking and the task manager and going back to apps that you haven't used for a while, for example, I haven't been in Google Play now for a while. It's still there, it didn't need to reload. Now I've got the 8GB of RAM, and to me, it makes perfect sense. Keep it in RAM there. That's why I want it there. And what about Chrome? No, that's great. So other manufacturers, other launchers will probably kill this off a lot quicker with their task manager. So as you'd expect, that the gestures are working really well, although sometimes, as you can see, because of the smaller bezel at the bottom, it is a little bit difficult to trigger just swiping up to going home. But that was probably my fault right there. So it is very, very quick. And I really do like it. So the apps drawer is here. We're seeing all the notifications pull through at the top. And I'll just quickly show you as well Twitter performance here, that it is very smooth. If you're one of those people that love to quickly just swipe up and go through everything, then you're going to love the 90 Hertz. But to me, 90 Hertz isn't something that I absolutely must have on a phone. I'm actually perfectly fine using 60, and I prefer the battery life we get with 60 as well. So speaking about battery life, this is 90 Hertz. It's actually very good, much better than I expected. You can see I did a bit of gaming, a lot of YouTube, Chrome, Twitter, quite a bit of that. A full day, so that's gone through a whole day's use here. And you'll see that last charge was 24 hours, and I got 7 hours and 22 minutes of screen on time. So this is great. Now this was about 50% data, and it's just an estimate, okay? Some people will get better results in this, others will get worse. Now if you use the 60 Hertz option, expect then an additional about 20%, 15% battery life. I can squeeze about an hour more with my calculations, which is really good. So our wireless speeds, very good, really quick here. So up to 560 megabits per second, absolutely no complaints. So it does have dual band, dual frequency GPS, and that means it sees a lot of GPS satellites. It locks on very, very quick, and you're getting an accuracy of about 4 meters. That's normal. And here you can see that we've got carrier frequency level 5. That's telling us that it does support dual frequency. AnTuTu score, this is version 8 now, very, very quick. Okay, the score, as you'd expect, this is the Snapdragon 855 Plus. The GPU is about, 15% faster. That's the only real tweak. Widevine level 1 cert, great. And of course, level 3 camera API support, great again. This is really good to have. So Google camera ports, they're out there. There's a few now that you can download and test if you want better low light. And here is our UFS 3 storage. take a look at that sequential read. Really, really good. It's not the highest I've seen. The writes aren't amazingly fast, but our random reads are. Look at that. Really good. 165 megabytes per second. And then random writes, okay, 28 megabytes per second. A little on the low side, but nothing is going to hold this phone up at all. So I am on the latest firmware as well, and this is the version with 8 gigabytes and 128 gigabytes of storage. Bloatware, what do we get? Okay, out of the box, you're going to get Netflix and a few Google bloatware apps that you probably don't want. Now we do have Google Pay here and NFC for those that need that. So what's missing, of course, is micro SD support and a 3.5mm headphone jack. And yeah, you could say maybe wireless charging. So free storage on first use is approximately 111 gigabytes. Now gaming performance is as you'd expect, that it is really good here. This is Call of Duty on the maximum settings, and that was with all the extra options enabled. Very, very fluid, even when you're in the Battle Royale mode as well. So I'll test out another demanding game, which is Shadowgun Legends, that can often lag and stutter, and we'll see how that one fares. Now this is on the maximum settings, and it still only gives us 60 frames per second, so this game doesn't support the OnePlus 7T, at least at the time of this video, with 90 frames per second mode, which would be great that we can enable that. So I've noticed that the gameplay seems to actually be a little bit smoother than the XT Pro that I reviewed, but it still now and then gets a few little micro stutters and pauses of lag. Nothing for me beats the Asus Republic of Gamers Phone 2. That one plays this game exceptionally smooth without any stutters or lag. Lastly, onto our cameras now. So we have got a big improvement, especially in the nightscape mode with the cameras. As you'll see that they are pushing ahead OnePlus, improving the cameras, and really it's a good thing because they were always lagging behind just a little bit. Now it still won't beat the best Android flagship phones out there in terms of camera performance, but it's definitely getting closer. So swapping over to the 2x is there. Now when you're in the video mode, once you start recording, you've only got two options. So it's ultra wide or the main sensor. We also have this right here, which is our super stable mode, and it's very similar to what we have on the Realme phones with their super steady mode. So let's have a look at some camera samples now, both front and rear and low light. So this is 4K 30 frames per second video. We've got electronic image stabilization that does tend to work quite well. There's also a 4K 60 option, but because my video is being shot in 30 frames per second, it's not actually going to be included here. So I found the focus tends to be good. We do have quite a bit of a crop here, and that's because of the electronic image stabilization, of course. You can see that focus working, although sometimes it doesn't want to lock on my hand. So subject's close up it might struggle sometimes to get a lock here. Now I'm going to walk ahead, have a look at the stabilization. Now you cannot swap over to the 2x camera. In fact, you cannot record video with the 2x camera, and you cannot swap to the ultra wide once you start recording with the main camera. But I'll give you a sample now of the ultra wide. So this is ultra wide video now. One thing I've noticed, its electronic image stabilization isn't quite as steady and as good as the main sensor. You'll notice that as I'm walking along. Now the audio quality I think is decent, it's good. The bitrate could possibly be a little bit higher. I've noticed that it is lower than the 320 kilobytes we get with the Realme X2 Pro, which is, well, their sister company really. So maybe they could improve that, but overall I think we've got decent 4K quality here. So with the front-facing camera, we've got electronic image stabilization as well, but 1080p 30 frames per second max. Now this stabilization is very good, so it's going to be great for people that shoot vlogs a lot. Find the quality overall decent. The main thing is there is a bit of a crop though, so you have to probably use one of those selfie sticks to get more people in the shot, because my arm is extended right out here. I don't have super short arms either, so if you've got really short arms, then it's probably going to be really quite up close like that. And now again with the front-facing camera here in low light, you can see, yeah, it's not amazing, but it's actually doing a lot better than many phones that I've reviewed. And this is now low light video, so yes, the quality has degraded quite a bit. I mean, this is very challenging for a mobile phone, and you'll see when I walk ahead now that the electronic image stabilization doesn't look quite as good. You can see some jarring in the video with it as well. So it's clear to me that OnePlus are pushing forward with better optimization when it comes to photography, and they are really improving. So the night mode now, night shots look good, but it still won't beat Gcam ports, okay, or Google Camera, or the Pixel, the Huawei P30 Pro, and the photos as well. This is not the class-winning cameras in Android ecosystem. It's not going to be the absolute best, but it is still very good now in camera performance. So anyone out there saying that it'll go head-to-head with the P30 Pro, the Mate 30 Pro, or the iPhone 11, no, it won't, okay, with cameras. That's maybe just the downside of it, but overall this is really, really a good phone, and I think it's one of the definite top 5 Android phones this year. I love the fact that it's a flat screen. The 90 Hz is great, but for me personally, I would probably actually run it on 60 to gain additional battery life. But it's good to have that option, of course, don't get me wrong there. Now I know a lot of people are going to ask this, what about Realme's X2 Pro? Which one should you get out of these two? Now, it really depends on what you want. If you want marginally better battery life, I'm talking like 20 minutes more of on-screen time, and you want a 3.5mm headphone jack, you want faster fingerprint unlocking, and you want faster charging time, this is the one. And you want to save a bit of money as well, because this is cheaper in Europe. This is starting from $399, where this starts at $599, I think it is, euros. So there's a big difference. That's where you would get the Realme X2 Pro. Now, if I had the cash, I would get the 7T for Oxygen OS. Oxygen OS for me is brilliant. But it is interesting to see that we're getting more customization with the display in the dark mode, as I showed you with the XT Pro. And then the ambient display is an always-on display. It's always on here, whereas with OnePlus, you've got to tap the screen to see the time, or you need to lift it up and look at it, where this one's always on. So there's some software differences, well, big software differences. Color OS versus Oxygen OS. So there is really so much to like about this phone. It's very, very hard to fault. And the areas where I would complain and fault if I'm nitpicking, the cameras, I think it's a bit ugly the way the camera bulges, the glass on the rear, the metal frame around the outside will scratch easily as well. The fact that they couldn't have squeezed in just a little bit more battery. Okay, it's slightly slimmer, but I would have liked to have seen the 4,000 milliamp hours in here. But that's nitpicking, okay? This is just tiny, tiny little problems, tiny little things. Fingerprint reader optimization definitely needs to be improved, because if they are using the same 3rd gen Goodx sensor like the X2 Pro here, why am I seeing a big difference in unlock speeds? I'm seeing it much, much quicker on the X2 Pro, and also the accuracy seems to be better. Not to say that it's bad. Face unlocking is also very quick on the 7T. It's really a phone that you cannot fault, apart from the micro SD card support isn't there, no 3.5mm headphone jack, and really that's about all I can say bad about this phone. So if you're gonna get one of these, you're gonna be really happy with it. I think it's one of Android's best, as mentioned. It's got to be in the top 5, definitely, for me at least, Thanks so much for watching this review. I do hope to catch you back on the channel. Please give a thumbs up if you like this review so others can find it on YouTube. Otherwise, this video is going to get buried under all the massive channels that have reviewed the 70 Pro. And subscribe for more up-and-coming videos, and I'll catch you back in the next one.